from Daniela's Kitchen, and I'm here to show you an Easter recipe today. No children with me today. I think they're getting a little bit bored now. Hopefully they'll be back for some more really straightforward Easter recipes later. This one is a little bit more complicated, but don't be scared. I'm going to show you, it's actually quite easy. It takes a little bit of time, and there's a few processes, but it's a lot more simple than you think to make your own hot cross buns. Now it's Easter on Sunday, and we always buy them from the supermarket. We're shopping less now and we're baking more, so I think it's a great recipe to try, especially if you've never tried it before. So first of all, this is all the stuff that you're going to need. Now the ingredients are shown below. If you just have a look at the comments below, you'll see what we need. There's some flexibility with the ingredients that you use, and I'll go through that while we're going through the process. Kit-wise, there's a few things that would be good to have and not essential. What you absolutely do need though is a large baking tray or two smaller baking trays lined with either baking paper or a silicone mat like this, a piping bag. Now if you don't have a piping bag, you can use a food bag, so don't be scared if you don't have one. Some sort of a brush to brush your hot cross buns at the end. And I'm using a dough cutter. Again, you could use a knife instead if you don't have one. Other than that, it's just basic kitchen equipment like bowls and jugs and things. So now we're going to get started. Now this whole thing is going to take about 2 hours from start to finish, from the first mix through to baking and having your ready, deliciously baked, warm hot cross buns out of the oven. So the first stage now is getting our ingredients mixed together and kneading our dough. Right, so we're going to start now. I'm going to pop some butter into a small pan on a low heat. That's 50 grams of butter. You can use salted or unsalted. Just going to let that melt. Now be careful the butter doesn't burn in the pan, so don't leave your pan on for too long before you start this process. So you're just going to let the butter melt down. And we're looking for liquid here, which is tepid, all right? We don't want the liquid to be too hot when we add it into the flour and the yeast, because it might end up killing the active ingredient in the yeast. So be aware of the temperature of the liquid that we add into the flour. When that's almost melted, I'm going to add in 200 grams of milk, or 200 mils of milk. That can be semi-skimmed or whole. And I'm just going to let that warm through very gently and allow the butter to completely melt. So we've got some flour in a bowl. Now this is strong white flour, the same flour that you would use for making bread. There's 450 grams in there. So I'm just going to add my dry ingredients into that. I've got spices, obviously hot cross buns, spicy. Now obviously you can add whatever you fancy, but the normal ones to add are cinnamon and mixed spice. So I'm going to put a heaped teaspoon of cinnamon, another teaspoon of mixed spice. You could add ginger here if you like, maybe some cloves, whatever you fancy. I've also got some salt, a teaspoon of salt going in, okay, and my yeast. So this is the ingredient which is going to make it rise. I'm going to add that in at 7 grams, so 1 sachet of fast-acting yeast. Pop that in. And then I've got some sugar, not too much. I've got 50 grams of caster sugar going in. So let's pop that all in. So that's all the dry ingredients then added together. Let's mix those before you add the wet in, just to make sure they're thoroughly combined. So we've mixed our dry ingredients together, and we're going to create a well in the centre to allow us to begin to add the wet ingredients in. So the first thing we're going to add is a large egg, large free-range egg. I'm going to crack that into the centre. If you're worried about shell going in, do it in a small bowl beforehand and give it a little mix. Okay, and then just break the egg apart and begin to combine your flour in. And let's add the milk and the butter now. Just test the temperature to make sure it's not too hot, it's tepid, okay? Begin to add it in, and as you're doing that, you're combining the flour and all the other ingredients along with the milk and the butter. So before we start kneading, we just want to try and make sure that these ingredients are combined and the dough is coming together in a nice ball. So let's do that with the spoon. Fold it in, scrape the sides to make sure you're getting all that goodness from all the sides, you're not wasting anything or leaving it behind. So you'll see it will all start to come together now. So we've mixed our wet and dry ingredients together, and now we need to knead the dough to allow it to proof for the first time. Then we'll add our fruits and other ingredients later on. So we're going to need to get that yeast working and to make it smooth and silky so it rises properly. So let's get our dough down, and we will dust our work surface with plenty of flour to avoid it sticking. All right, and a little bit on top too. Okay, now there's no particular art in this, you just want to move it around. Okay, keep it nice and warm. You're basically stretching it, not tearing it though, just stretching it and moving it around, folding it back on itself. And you're going to be doing this for about 5 or 10 minutes, just so that it looks smooth and silky. Right, whew, that was hard work. You maybe want to get the kids involved with this bit. Maybe the partners. Take turns. Warm hands are good. Okay, so we've been doing that for about 5 or 10 minutes. You can see the dough now looks nice and silky and smooth, and when you press it, it bounces back almost all the way. So now we're ready to pop it back into the bowl. A little bit of flour to stop it from sticking. Goes back in, and then we're just going to leave it with a tea towel over the top. And we'll leave that for about an hour to an hour and a half. So now our dough has been proving for about an hour to an hour and a half in a warm kitchen. It's roughly doubled in size, and now we're ready to add all the yummy fruit into that and to shape it. Let's have a look. Right, you can see it's almost doubled in size, feels very spongy. Let's get it out. And let's just stretch that dough out. You can see the texture's changed there. We're now going to add our dried fruits. So I've got a mixture here of sultanas, raisins, currants, and some mixed peel, all right, for that distinctive kind of sour flavour. So I'm going to pop some of it in, just press it down. So maybe half the fruit to begin with, and then I'm going to fold it back. Okay. Okay. I'm going to turn it around. Squash it down and do the same with the rest of the fruit. Okay, now don't worry, you can gather it all together as you knead your dough for a second time just to combine all those ingredients. Now what we want to do is divide it into individual buns. So the best way to do that equally is to roll it into a bit of a sausage shape. So just use your 2 hands, and if any bits of fruit pop out, don't worry, just push them back in. Just roll it out. A little bit of a dusting of flour underneath. Okay. Okay. So once you've done that, then you're going to begin to divide it down. Now the easiest way of doing this, we're looking for 12 individual buns. So we'll start by dividing it in half. I've got a cutter here, you can use a knife, in half. And then you begin to half it again. Okay. Alright, then we're going to half it again. Now you've got 8 here, so you're going to have to take little sections to make up to 12. So I've got 12 roughly equal sized pieces of dough here. I'm going to make them into balls, and then we're going to transfer them to the baking tray. So just start with the first one. Use your hands. Okay, the shaping bit is important because it will have an impact on the shape of your buns at the end. So just make sure that all the dough is combined. So that's the last one, and they're all shaped into roughly rounds. So now we're going to get the baking tray and transfer them onto there. So we've cut and shaped the buns, we've laid them all out on the baking sheet, and now we're going to leave them to prove for a second time for about 30 minutes. So we'll just leave them covered up with a tea towel again. So while our buns are proving for the second time, just before we bake, we've now got to make the mixture to make the crosses on top. So we're going to mix together some flour and water, and I'll show you how that's done. I'm going to pop in a couple of tablespoons of flour. This is strong white again, but you can use plain as well if you're short of the other. And 1 tablespoon to begin with. Water, just cold water. Then I'm going to mix it together. Pop that into the piping bag, pour it in. Remember not to snip the end off to begin with. I did that yesterday. Alright, and pour it all in. Okay, use a spatula to get it all out. And it's ready to make your crosses when your buns have proved. Now these are improving. Again, for about half an hour, you can see they've grown in size, they've all joined together. You want them to be just touching. And then we're going to get the mixture that we put into the piping bag earlier. If you don't have a piping bag, you can use a food bag like this one and just use it into the corner like that and just trim the corner. So we're just going to trim the very end off, and then you're going to make your crosses. So just work your way from front to back. So now they're ready to go into the oven and bake. 190 for 15 to 20 minutes. So now we've done all the hard work and our buns have proved for the second time. We're now going to bake them in the oven, and then we're going to pull them out when they're deliciously golden brown. That'll take about 15 to 20 minutes at around about 190 degrees Celsius. Right, so those buns have been baking for about 15-20 minutes. I'm really excited to go and get them out of the oven now and see how they're looking. And here they are, 20 minutes later, golden brown, just out the oven. Got some honey that I've just warmed up very slightly in the microwave for about 10 seconds. I'm just going to use a brush to brush them over to give them that lovely glossy sheen. So there we are, 12 delicious homemade hot cross buns. Now they don't look as perfect as the ones in the shop, but I guarantee you they will taste so much better. Cut in half, warm, with lashings of butter. And I really would be so happy if you gave these a go. And if you do, post me a picture. Good luck. See you next time.